Hi everyone, it's the Fuel Tech. Today we're going to do some questions and answers. And on my last video, if you remember part 2 of our series on race gas, we talked about a fuel specification chart for one of Sunoco's most popular fuels. And I want to apologize to you all that I wasn't able to go over it in really long detail, but YouTube is nice enough to only give me 10 minutes per video clip. So if I have to make 100 clips to explain it in thorough detail, then hey, that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, let's get started on your 4 questions here. And the first one that you sent to me is, why do race fuel manufacturers put lead in fuels, and is it the same kind of lead like in a pencil? It's a very good question. They put lead in fuels to raise the octane of the fuel. Lead is probably the best octane booster there is known to man, and that's why they use it. Unleaded fuels, it is hard for a manufacturer or a chemist to raise the octane level of the fuel. And I think that one of the highest unleaded fuels in the United States right now is 104. Whereas leaded fuel, I mean, there are some leaded race gases that are 120 plus octane. Is it like the kind of lead in a pencil? Absolutely not. The lead in a fuel is called tetraethyl lead, and a pencil is lead is entirely different. The one thing while we're on the subject on lead that I want to tell you about a car: never ever ever use lead in any form of computer controlled vehicle that has oxygen sensors and catalytic converters. It will absolutely burn them up. Do not put it in there. Okay. You can put leaded fuel in a computer controlled vehicle that does not have oxygen sensors or catalytic converters, such as your Japanese sport bikes. It's perfectly fine to do so. Also remember, guys, that leaded fuel is for off-road use only. It's banned in all 50 states in the nation to use, and it has been since the early 70s. But at the end of the day, really, is the leaded police going to pull you over? I don't think so, but it's just something I would throw out just for your information anyway. Let's go up here to number 2 now. Can you please explain a little more on what dielectric constant means? Again, I'm sorry, it's kind of a pain explaining that. It's easy in my head, but trying to put it out to you is kind of difficult. The easiest way that I can describe this to you, and I'm kind of looking here at a definition of it, is that as a sample, okay, just samples here, dielectric constant numbers for leaded non-oxygenated gasoline usually fall in the range of 0.0 to negative 2.0, okay? Unleaded gasolines containing an oxygen in it usually fall in the range of a plus 1.0 to a plus 10.0. In other words, if you're at a track in a sanctioned body race that does not allow oxygen, and they test your fuel, and they find that you have anywhere from a plus 1.0 to a plus 10.0 dielectric constant, it is telling them that you have either an oxygenated fuel or you have added an oxygenate to your fuel to give you a performance advantage, so you wouldn't have a competition out there. You'd wipe everybody out. If it's showing that you have a flatline number, 0.0 or negative, then it's showing that you're within rules and specs. You would not be surprised how many people cheat on a track. Okay, I have seen guys, and I've heard of guys that will put oxygenates in their fuels that say that they cannot be read on a meter. I have heard of guys actually mixing in nitromethane in their fuels. How completely friggin' stupid is that? I mean, using nitromethane in there, it's super highly oxygenated, and these are the same cats that would put it in there and not reject their carburetor and end up burning holes in their pistons. Goes to show you, people will cheat. And as long as people will cheat to gain the performance advantage, they have to do tests like this on your fuel, and dielectric constant is that way of helping the officials and yourself know that whether it is a oxygenated fuel or not. Let's go down here to number 3. In part 2 of your video, you said that there are two different oxygens that are manufactured in fuels. What are they, and is one better than the other? Well, there are two different types of oxygens, one being ethanol and the other one MTBE, which is methyl tertiary butyl ether, short for MTBE, so let's just stick with that. They both have their advantages and their disadvantages. MTBE is a far superior oxygenant to ethanol simply because MTBE can mix completely and blend with gasoline. So if water got into the fuel's contaminated with any amount of moisture, the moisture in the water will actually go to the bottom and the fuel will stay to the top. If you have a fuel that is oxygenated with ethanol, water will get into the fuel, but what it will do, it'll actually mix in with the ethanol. So it'll break it away from the fuel, and it will just absolutely screw your fuel up because, as you know, water doesn't burn. So, you know, as far as, you know, MTBE being better in that way, yes, it is. However, MTBE, it takes a lot of it in a fuel to really boost up your oxygen content in the gas, which can make your fuel kind of squirrely. Where ethanol, it takes a little amount to give you a high oxygen content in the gas. One to me is not necessarily better than the other. You have to realize ethanol, though, you're more susceptible to getting moisture in the gas. You have to be very, very careful. Always take all your race fuels and put them in steel lined drums or steel cans that are completely sealed off out of ultraviolet light. And if you do that, it doesn't matter whether you have an ethanol oxygenated fuel or an MTBE oxygenated fuel. They're going to last you a good long time and give you the performance you want. Sunoco, all their oxygenants they use are ethanol based. They don't ever have problems. I don't ever have problems with them. So to me, that's just as good as the other. And the only other thing too about the MTBE, which is bad, kind of like lead. There's a lot of states in the United States that have banned the use of MTBE in fuels on roadways. So there you go. And let's go now to our last question is what brand of race fuel do you like most? Well, I think everybody knows that now. I love Sunoco because I always talk about it on here. I love Sunoco simply because their customer service is absolutely fantastic. You can call these guys 20 times a day at the tech department, and they have a smile on their face every time they talk to you. They're more than happy to answer any of your questions. I like the fact that on Sunoco's websites, they will have all their specification charts on there on all the fuels that they have. Okay, that's what that I want. Okay, I go to so many of these other websites on here of different fuel manufacturers, and they don't even have the spec charts on there. Okay, how am I going to know what fuel I need if I can't see the specs for it? So. And the other thing, too, that I like about the Sunoco brands, they are one of the largest manufacturers of gasolines in the world. They refine their racing fuels from pure stock. In other words, you have a lot of race gas companies out here that buy so many thousands upon thousands of gallons, and then they will add their own additives and hydrocarbons to it and blend their own racing fuel. Sunoco doesn't do it. It is manufactured, refined from pure blend stock. So in other words, you're getting a super fresh race fuel, and you get what you pay for. And that's why I like them. I have called up other manufacturers that did not want to answer any of my questions, did not even want to give me any specs on their fuels. And so why in the world would I want to spend 10 or 20 bucks a gallon when they won't even tell me what's in the fuel so I don't potentially damage my engine or lose performance in my engine? So Sunoco is fantastic. Rocket brand racing fuels are fantastic. Power Mist fuels are fantastic. Hell, on Power Mist, even the CEO will get on the phone with you, and him being the CEO and a blender at the company, and he will talk to you till you're blue in the face on there. That just goes to show you he wants your business. So there again, there's the answers to your questions. If you have any more, send them to me, ncdogman@aol.com. My next video, I'm actually going to talk and discuss a little more on different fuel manufacturers that are out there and what they offer. Thanks for watching.